Fighting Nazis. Illegitimate robot children. That's what we'll call it next time. Robot Bastards 3. Illegitimate robot children. Followed by Robot Bastards 4. I can't believe people are still doing this. Everyone quits Ark entirely and then comes back. I've quit like 5 times. Oh, Bottomatics thing. Using the Schnee Machine power system. I wonder if Alex is going to enter Schnee Machine. Nah, he's probably going to enter Tank. Something new and fun planned. I wonder if the new and fun thing involves shorter roleplays. I wonder if he knows about the roleplay thing yet. What if he doesn't know? So. Hello. This is Nick, or Spatula, or Vatnos, or Bees, or whatever the hell. I have many names, I know. Yeah, I lose track of them too. So now you know the face behind the terrible posts and terrible robots. Here it is. I've never done a video before, so I apologize for this being as terrible as it's going to be. But let's get through this. I just thought that I would talk about Robot Bastards a little bit and share some of my thoughts, because why not? Everyone's doing the video thing these days, and just seems to be the in thing. So I've already forgotten what I'm going to talk about. So this is where I will probably cut the video and then start talking about whatever it was that I was going to make a video about. Yeah. All the stuff right here. This is all going to get cut. Definitely. I'll definitely remember to cut this. Yep. Yes, sir. What are we going to do again? Right, so a few things are different in this tournament. That's always the way it is. I always try to do a few different things, because if you do the same thing over and over again, it gets repetitive and people start finding it boring. So what I've done is I've tried to create a little bit of a challenge for people in this tournament. The things that they exploited in the past won't work. So there's no overpowered walkers anymore. Walkers might come back in future tournaments, but we're just going to take a break from them for this tournament. We'll do other things. There's no more pressing lifters. Well, actually, there is still pressing lifters. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit, because I came up with this rule of putting crud on the floor, so that if you tried to press your lifter, you would lose mobility. And so I made that a rule. And the reason I did this was, well, it's because under the previous rule set that we were using, it worked pretty well for a bunch of tournaments, but gradually over time, people got better at statting their robots, and they got better at statting their lifters, and they eventually figured out that you could take a lifter, you can make it a lifting plow, you just have a whole plow up front, and you make that plow an ABR wedge, because fuck everyone, and then you make it so that it has the bare minimum number of points to get the weapon bonus, so 5, and then you have the bare minimum amount of armor so that your plow can survive any, the most powerful spinner that you'll face. And then you use whatever points are left over for pushy bot stuff, wheels and traction and torque and stuff. And as it happens, you can perfectly stat this kind of robot to beat everything, basically. Like, there is no design that counters this. You can win every time against every type of robot with this, and that's a problem. And it wasn't a problem at first because people weren't doing their wedges right. They had, stuff in their wedges that spinners could catch, the corner rules and stuff. And they had, they weren't quite putting the right stats in places, and they were a little bit inefficient. And those inefficiencies allowed other types of robots to do just fine. And so things felt pretty balanced for a long time. But now it seems like every tournament, it's just another ABR plow with the 5 and the thing. So I put in this rule to try to stop that, because we need to have a balance. We need to have, every type of robot should have strengths and weaknesses, and you shouldn't feel like you're always doing an uphill battle against a certain type of robot, and you shouldn't feel like you're limited to certain types of designs. So this is the way this has always been since the beginning of Eternity. Is we've always modified the rules a little bit whenever it seemed like one type of robot had an advantage, because there were times when spinners had an advantage, and we would okay, we need to nerf spinners a little bit. The wedge rule made spinners too good, so we had to get rid of the wedge stat because it just nerfed anything that had a wedge too much. And we just went on through, and so this is just the next evolution, I think, is to do this. But I'm looking at the signups, and I'm starting to realize now that this rule didn't do shit. I know what's going to happen, because everyone's entering lifters anyway. And what's going to happen is everyone who's entering lifters is probably thinking, oh, okay, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter a lifter, since no one else is going to enter lifters, and my bot will be the lowest bot. But I'm just going to not press the wedge 90% of the time, and then only press it right when I'm right about to get under someone, and then I'll always get under everyone. And I just press it briefly for just like microseconds, and then I already know that's what everyone's going to do. It's very obvious to me that's clearly they've thought of that, and I didn't think of that. So I feel like a big idiot, and I've thought of other things to stop that in the future, but that's just going to be a thing that happens in this tournament. And I didn't plan this out. There is kind of a nerf in that they have to use precious space in the role play to say that they're going to do that. So, you have a strict character limit in the role plays now. So everyone who plans on doing that is going to have to spend a sentence to say, well, I'm only going to press right as I'm about to get under them, and that's going to take up space, and so at least there's that prevents them from using that space in their role play for other things, and space is going to be a precious commodity in role plays at this point. So at least there's that. But yeah, I'm kind of sad that this rule isn't going to work as effectively as I'd hoped that it would. I think in the future I'm going to have to go a little bit more extreme with it. So we'll see what that entails. But, yeah. Otherwise, I think it'll be a fun tournament. We've got a non-crazy arena for once, so that'll be nice. I'm seeing people entering good robots. The distinction between veteran teams and newcomer teams is getting blurrier and blurrier at this point, and I think it could get pretty crazy. There are a couple things. One is that getting to the playoffs is going to be harder in this tournament than it was in previous tournaments, because there's 8 slots, but there are way more teams than I expected. I thought there'd be like 12 or something, and a lot of people were saying they weren't going to enter. So I thought it would be 12, just a small number. And so 8 would be like 2/3 of, the robots that people entered would make it to the playoffs. But now we've got 22, or more than that. And so that means that most robots are not going to make it to the playoffs in each weight class. And because there are only 3 weight classes, you only have 3 chances to get to the playoffs. So it's going to be harder than ever to get to the playoffs in this tournament. I kind of like that. I think maybe making it a little more challenging also kind of makes people care more, and it makes it a little more fun. So maybe that's okay. Maybe that's not so bad. Maybe I won't like it if I don't make the playoffs, but we'll see. Yeah, we'll see how all that goes. I had to make a few changes at the last minute. So I was originally going to do a 5-round round robin, but it's looking like... So the problem with that is that in chess, you do 5 rounds, and whoever gets the most points wins, right, out of 5 rounds. And statistically, it works out so that even in a huge tournament, it's extremely rare for more than one person to get 5 points. Usually one person gets 5, and 2 get 4.5, and down the line. But the problem with this is that there are no draws in this. So some people will have 5 wins, some people will have 4 wins, some people will have 3, 2, 1, 0, and so on. The number of bots that have 5 wins and 4 wins is unlikely to be 8. It's very likely that a whole bunch of robots will have 3, and that would mean that to fill up the last slot, I'd have to take all of the robots that have 3 and just have them do a huge rumble. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to write like a fucking 20-bot rumble. That's just silly. The alternative is we could have wild cards, and so 2 robots that get 3 will just get in on wild cards or whatever. That's another possibility, but I don't like wild cards. I don't like them. I feel like you should earn your way into the playoffs. I don't like people getting into the playoffs on a wild card. So what I'm going to do is also, okay, there's another reason I don't like wild cards. I can't make a good bracket on challenge using, that incorporates wild cards. It messes up the whole system that I have going. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 6 rounds. And then that gives us another chance to kind of differentiate robots from each other. So there'll be robots that have 6, robots that have 5, robots that have 4. And then that probably will be 8 robots. And maybe more than that. And if it's more than that, we'll get to it. But I think what it's going to be is the playoffs will be robots that get 4 points or better, maybe. I don't know. It's something like that. I just want to try to work it out that way. But I think robots that get 6, 5, 4, getting into the playoffs should work out pretty nicely. So, 4-2 record to get to the playoffs. That's very achievable. You just have to, you get a couple chances to mess up. You have a chance to run into the robot you were worried about and lose to it, and then miss a role play some other week, and you can still make it. So I think that's pretty forgiving. I think that should work out pretty well. Yeah, so that's what we're going to do. It's going to be 6 rounds instead of 5. Just means more writing on my end. But we'll do that. I'll have more to talk about later, but yeah, there you go.